I'm Cale Sanderson.
I'm Scott Boroff.
And welcome to Fight Lab.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 2 of Fight Lab. Episode number 1 was super fun to put out there. We enjoyed it a bunch, and we're excited to put more content out every week. So we're going to get right into some cool things going on around here. We got 2 new posters. We got the UFC 248 poster with Whaley and JJ on it, which is pretty cool, and the very disappointing Yoel and Izzy fight on there. And then we also got the Diaz-McGregor 2 poster that came in. We ordered that one online. Super cool poster.
Shout out to the Auburn, Indiana B-Dubs.
Yeah.
About half of these posters up here.
Yeah, every time we go to a fight, we pretty much tell them, hey, anyone got dibs on those posters? Because we're trying to cop those. So that's some cool stuff going on around here. And every week, every fight, we're trying to get this whole room to turn into posters. Yeah. Be pretty cool. Other than that, we're going to get right into Fight Night 170 that just happened. UFC Brasilia. So this is a very different fight night because of the whole coronavirus scare. Absolutely no fans there, which is a whole new experience for everyone. The fact that you could hear every punch, you could hear the fighters talking crap between each other, and hear their corners even more than you could before. It was pretty wild, and then after a fight, when everyone's celebrating, they're the only ones celebrating.
Yeah, it was kind of awkward.
Yeah, it was pretty weird. But yeah, so that was coronavirus insanity, and I'm sure everyone around where you live is outside of sports the same way. So
yeah, it might be. We'll see in these next few events if the coronavirus, affects that, but. Maybe this will just be Fight Night Coronavirus in the future instead of Brasilia. I mean, like you said, it was really weird. You could really hear the corner. That's one thing I hadn't paid too much attention to in the past. You could hear, bits and pieces, but man, you could really hear everything they said. So that was interesting. So let's get right into the fights. So, like he said, it was very weird. You could tell that the fighters were a little bit annoyed at some of them after they won. They were Moicano, for instance. He was really frustrated because he wanted his family to be there. It was just weird all around.
Was he the one that just had a son too?
Yeah. Moicano just had his son, and he was very frustrated. And it was funny. Like in between fights, they would pan out into the octagon, and you could literally see the empty seats.
I think the funniest part about that too is they still had all the production as if everyone was still there. The lights,
all the lights, and the announcer, which they had to do the announcer.
Yeah, because people are still watching, like we were at home, but it was still super funny.
And they're panning outside the arena, and they've got all the posters up, but literally. It's dead outside. They have all the gates for people to walk in. No one's there. So, but yeah, let's get right into the fights. So we'll start out with the prelims. I'm going to start talking about Amanda Ribas. She had a fantastic performance against Ronda Marcos. I thought she was going to finish her in the first round. I mean, she had some ridiculous ground and pound elbows and punches, absolutely piecing her up. This was a great strawweight fight. Personally, with what we saw last week with Joanna and Whaley.
Yeah.
And then we've got Rose and Jessica coming up. It's almost like a crowded strawweight division again.
I think it's really just packed full of talent. It's pretty stacked.
Great young talent, and Amanda, she puts herself. She's not in conversation right now, but I think with that performance, I mean, she could possibly set up within the next couple of years, depending on how it goes, with Whaley and Rose and all them. She could be in title conversation. I was so impressed with her performance last night, and I know it wasn't against a Whaley or a Joanna or even Jessica, but awesome performance from her. So then the finale of the prelims was Brandon Moreno versus Yassier Formiga, and I personally picked Yassier to win this fight. He's beat Davison Figueiredo. He's had some really impressive performances, and Brandon Moreno has been great as of late too. Yussier came out. Oh, man, he was lightning quick. There were 2 times in the first round where Scott and I both thought that this fight was going to be finished. I mean, the transition game on the ground, and then he even had a guillotine where Moreno was standing up, and he wrapped his legs around him.
Yeah.
Oh, it was crazy.
I think when we were watching that, too, I was like, man, I swear he's got to be the quickest dude on the ground.
He's...
Like, when it comes to just transitioning to the next move, like, it was comparable to, like, the quickness of, like, Weili's punches.
Yeah, because we were so impressed with her quickness last week.
And I think, so you got, like, there's 2 different forms of quickness. You got punching, and then you got, like, just overall movement. And I think that was, like, probably the quickest.
Yeah, it's right up there with anything I've seen. I mean, anything in that flyweight division is going to be crazy.
Yeah.
But, personally, I might be a little bit biased because I picked Formiga to win this fight.
Yeah.
But take that aside, I really thought that I gave it 2-1 Formiga. I think I had rounds 1 and 3 to him. Moreno definitely had 2. Yeah, it was 1 and 3. And 3 was razor thin. I thought 1 was clearly Formiga. One judge had it 30-27. Brandon Moreno defeated Formiga by unanimous decision. One judge had it 30-27 though, which I thought was a little crazy.
Yeah.
You thought Moreno won though, a close one, right?
Yeah.
Because he did the better of the striking.
I had him getting 2 and 3.
Yeah.
But like
3 was close.
3 was super close. I don't think that 30-27 is a very accurate representation.
No, 1 was definitely for me.
Yeah. It's almost as bad as like the Reyes judging.
No, it ain't that bad. But now that Moreno defeats Formiga, because they had talked about after Davison won against Joe,
which
they
was
said
bullcrap anyways, but
they said, maybe we'll make the Moreno Formiga the title fight, which it was strictly a rumor. But now that Moreno wins, I mean, either one of these guys wins, do you think that they're going to get the winner of Davison and Joe? Because that's what they're talking about right now.
I would hope so, and I just want to see that fight anyways, the Joe Davison fight, because honestly, we were really robbed the last time. I feel like that.
Yeah.
The
headbutt transition to that was disappointing because I do think that when Davison it was on accident, but when Davison accidentally headbutted him, I mean, you saw Joe's head just completely bust open.
Yeah.
And then from there, people were saying it was almost good that Joe got knocked out because how much blood he was losing.
Yeah, I mean that's just for safety wise, probably.
So, but I do think Moreno is going to get the winner of those 2, assuming they run that one back.
I hope so. So next we got the Francisco Trinaldo fight against John Makdessi. Trinaldo dominated the entire time. I don't know if you could say dominated, but he definitely controlled the fight.
Yeah.
Makdessi was trying to keep his distance with his leg kicks, and it wasn't enough to win.
No.
Sadly I had money on John Makdessi to take that one just because he was an underdog. And
big underdog guy.
Well, listen here, guys. DraftKings came out with this, which is something I think we're going to talk about later, but they came out with this thing. It was like the day of, where it was a 20% odds boost on everything. And I was like, man, I just got to go for gold, man. I got to go for the big win, put $5 on like this crazy underdog bet on like a 5-way parlay of all the underdogs, and didn't work out for me. But it's a cool thing, and I think that it was a good opportunity to win some money if it would have hit.
Yeah.
But anyways, about that fight, Trinaldo definitely was the controller of that fight, kept the pace of the fight going, was definitely backing up Makdessi the entire fight, I would say.
Yeah, the output from Trinaldo was a lot more effective. Makdessi, the striking was actually fairly close, but Trinaldo's strikes were a lot more effective.
Yeah, I was going to say Makdessi had, I think at one point he actually had more strikes.
I think he might have even finished with more strikes.
I'm sure he did, but they weren't significant enough to make a difference of anything.
No. Trinaldo backed him up the entire fight.
Yeah.
Definitely a dominant performance, and then even after the fight, Makdessi looked like he won. I mean, he threw his hands up right away, and we were both like, yeah, that wasn't even close. So let's move on here. Very exciting matchup between Johnny Walker and Nikita Krylov. I was big on the Johnny Walker hype. I know that we talked about this on last episode. Corey Anderson absolutely melted him in one round. But Johnny Walker, I feel like he might have, taken that for granted a little bit, and Corey Anderson came out very mad. Corey Anderson, wanted a title fight, and I feel like he, put himself in that conversation up until he fought John Blachowicz. But so let's move on here. So now we have a very highly anticipated return of Johnny Walker. So Johnny Walker, against his last fight against Corey Anderson, didn't go his way, but he's still got a lot of hype to him. And he's coming up against Nikita Krylov, who has finished every single one of his wins. Very dangerous on the ground, which Johnny Walker is, all power,
right.
Early finisher. So we thought we were going to see fireworks from the beginning. Johnny Walker comes out, he throws some, interesting strikes, and then Krylov from then on pretty much dominated him on the ground the entire time.
Yeah.
What do you think about that fight?
I thought Nikita had it pretty much the whole fight. I know you really wanted Johnny Walker. We both had our bets on Johnny Walker, but as soon as I saw Nikita come out, I thought that it was basically defensive for Johnny Walker the entire time at that point.
Yeah.
And anytime Nikita got him on the ground, we were both just like, okay, here.
Gassed.
Yeah. And we're like, here we go. He's going to end the fight right here.
I thought for sure.
Every time they got on the ground, we're like, no, he's going to end the fight.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, it was a fun fight to watch, and it was, you can't miss that blue hair. So
yeah. Well, and, a lot of people thought that Johnny Walker was going to run through Corey Anderson, and then now he gets and Nikita Krylov is dangerous, but he gets a lot lesser opponent in Nikita and loses to him. At this point, I think it's fair to say that Johnny Walker hype is almost dead. If he can't pull one win out of those two opponents, I don't know. He's so one-dimensional with his power, and he doesn't have much ground game, and his gas tank is very low. I wasn't too impressed with him. So the next fight is Renato Moicano. He defeated Damir Hadzovic via rear naked choke, 44 seconds into the first round. It actually seemed a lot quicker than that. It seems like they did the introductions, we look away, and all of a sudden the fight's over.
Yeah.
Very deep rear naked choke. He tapped almost right away. And then afterwards there was a little bit of a scrum. They were going at each other. Very, very weird sequence of events. But, yeah, not too much to say about that one. It was over pretty quickly. But I was... Renato's had a decent run as of late, and I was really impressed with.
Imagine the hype, too, if there was actually fans there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, it was cool that it was a first-round submission, and, we're hype at home, cheering at home. But, they're... I don't even know if you could be proud of yourself after that if no one's cheering.
Yeah, and he displayed his disappointment that the fans couldn't be there. He had said he just had his son.
Yeah.
And he was really looking forward to, them being there and putting on a show for the people of Brazil.
Yeah.
And he was robbed of that. But, hey, very good performance for him. This next fight, we were both really excited for this one, probably more than, any fight on the card. Gilbert Burns and Damian Maia. Gilbert Burns defeated Damian Maia via TKO in the first round, which that really surprised me. I picked Maia to win this fight, but...
And Maia's got a chin, too.
Oh, very. That's the first time he's ever been knocked out. And, the only people he's, lost to recently is Colby and Usman.
Mm-hmm.
He's on a 3-fight win streak. He defeated Ben Askren, dominated him at the end there. And... so I thought Maia would put up a really good fight. In his defense, he got caught with a really nice left from Gilbert. Put him down nice. It looked like he was out cold.
Yeah.
But Maia, popped his chin right back up.
Yeah.
And then he looked, coherent. Gilbert Burns actually had, his hands up like he had won.
Yeah.
And then he realized, Maia was still with it. So then he gets on the ground and...
Well, that was the thing, too, and I think when we were looking at it, we thought that Maia was out cold when he was on his back.
100%.
But thinking about it now, I'm almost thinking that, he looked like he was out cold going down, but once he hit the ground, I think when he popped back, he was looking up, and his eyes set on Burns because he was expecting him to jump on him.
Yeah.
And the fact that he wasn't, I think that's why we're like, what's happening?
Yeah, it was a little bit of confusion there from Burns.
Yeah. But either way, they both have a tremendous respect for each other.
Oh yeah.
And even the post fight interview, they talked about that. How Burns has looked up to Maia, and
both jiu-jitsu guys, and Burns definitely had the advantage in the striking, as we saw. I couldn't believe out of all the people that Maia's fought, though, that's the one that knocks him out. But hey,
some interesting stuff though comes up after that.
Yeah, so after the fight, Burns was very respectful towards Maia.
Yeah.
Not so much towards Colby Covington. So they ask him who he wants next, and he calls out Colby Covington.
Yeah. Well, can you blame him? Last time Colby was in Brazil, what happened there?
And Burns and Usman are buddies, so I think that's a little bit of why he has the distaste for Colby Covington, as a lot of people do.
And the Brazil's a dump comment, maybe that might
have played a little bit into it. But we got Michael Chiesa after he defeats Rafael dos Anjos. He's calling out Colby Covington. Now we got Gilbert Burns. Prior to this fight, Burns was number 12.
Right.
Calls out number 2 Colby Covington, which really, how's Colby Covington not number 1? Yeah. He put up a heck of a fight against Usman, and for some reason Woodley's still number 1 contender. Either way, Colby Covington, one of the best welterweights. Number 12 Gilbert Burns calls out Colby. I feel like that's a little too early for that. Now, what I believe is next in line for Gilbert Burns, I'm going to throw out a couple names here. Jeff Neal, Michael Chiesa, Robbie Lawler, Stephen Thompson, Rafael dos Anjos. I think all those guys would be phenomenal opponents for him. He's still got a lot to prove.
A Robbie Lawler fight would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be a great fight. Robbie's a great wrestler. Gilbert's obviously got great jiu-jitsu, and Robbie's definitely got the striking advantage, but that'd be a great fight. Personally, I think Jeff Neal is a phenomenal fight for Gilbert Burns. Jeff Neal's a great prospect coming up here. He can do a little bit of everything. He's got great striking. I think they're both in that mix, just inside the top 15, and they're both great prospects. I think that is a phenomenal fight. It's a win-win for both of them. They would both get, either one that wins that, they would get respect and points for winning that. Personally, I'd lean Jeff Neal, though. I still am not on the Gilbert Burns hype train. Right. I know he beat Damian Maia, but Damian Maia's going on 43, and
he's what Yoel wanted to be.
Well, yeah, aggressiveness wise, yeah, but yeah, I would still lean any of these guys really. Jeff Neal, Micah Chiesa, Robbie Lawler. I don't really like Gilbert Burns' chances in a lot of those fights. I think it's still a close fight, but I would really like to see him fight Jeff Neal next. I think that's a great fight for both of those guys. I think both of them accept that fight. Main event here, Charles Oliveira versus Kevin Lee. So
yeah, 3rd round guillotine submission.
Yeah.
The craziest thing on this, right, is he submits him and then Kevin Lee taps out.
Clear as day.
Clear as day. It is like the most blatant tap out, and then he gets up after he taps out and acts like he just wants to keep going.
Well, he's still hanging on to him.
Yeah. He's like, I didn't tap out, and I heard the ref, because no one was there, you could hear everything.
Yeah.
The ref literally says, watch the video, man, you tapped out.
Yeah. Clear as day, and I think what it is he was, really close to losing consciousness, and then he was just kind of out of it, and I don't think, Jorge Masvidal on Twitter was saying, oh, well, that's so disrespectful. He should be thrown out of the UFC for that, for trying to fight after tapping. Kevin Lee looked a little bit dazed after that. I don't think he meant to. I think he really thought he didn't tap.
He's probably confused.
He was very confused.
When air doesn't go to your brain, you don't really think too straight.
Bad take there for Jorge, in my opinion. I thought Lee definitely thought he didn't tap, but he did, clear as day. Very impressive, though, for Charles Oliveira. That marks 7 wins in a row. He's now 29-8. Very impressive wins in that span. And we're talking about Kevin Lee. He comes off a win, a really impressive knockout win off Gregor. Wow. We both picked Kevin Lee to win this fight. Mm-hmm. I thought Kevin Lee was going to knock Charles out. And granted, I think every single one of these fights were so close betting wise. Look at the odds. There was no
outstanding favorite, no outstanding underdog. It was all within plus 100 of each other.
So we'll talk about what's next for Charles Oliveira actually in the fan questions later. We have a question about that, but for Kevin Lee, if he gets a win here, I mean, obviously he's going to move up and up, and that the lightweight division is so crowded. I think maybe Kevin Lee could eventually get a title shot if he wins this fight. Now he's obviously going to take a step back. We've seen so many different forms of Kevin Lee. The Kevin Lee that fought for the interim title against Tony Ferguson. And then we've seen the Kevin Lee that lost to Rafael dos Anjos. His gas tank in this one wasn't the best. I thought we did see some decent striking from him, but Charles threw it right back.
Right.
I mean, right back on the ground. Charles' jiu-jitsu was...
He shot every takedown he needed to take, and it worked.
So, with that, I think a good fight, and, nothing's really been said about this, but I think a fight I'd like to see for Kevin Lee next is Islam and Alexander Hernandez are going to fight at UFC 249. I think the winner of that should get Kevin Lee. Both of those guys are behind Kevin in the rankings. Right. I think that's a great fight for either party in that. So that's the one I'd like to see. What do you think about that? What do you think about Charles' performance? I mean,
I thought it was pretty flawless to me. You can just tell he's a master of his craft.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the guy who's got the most submissions in UFC history. And not only that, Charles said before the fight that, he was going to stand up and strike with Kevin, which...
And he did a little bit there. And I kind of think he's cool now more than ever, too, because, he kind of, really incorporates his fans more than I thought he would. I mean, we posted a story on Instagram, and he put it on. That. He shared it on his story. Cool. He shared a lot of people's, which doesn't make us feel as special, but at the same time, the fact that he's doing that in general was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's always cool.
And it kind of gave me a little bit more respect for him, too.
Yeah, and, hopefully we'll get some more with our account. But on my personal account, I've actually talked to Steven Thompson, Jeff Neal. Got a personal DM from Colby Covington.
Which is cool.
That was sweet. So, yeah, it's that's one thing about the UFC is it kind of the fighters in general separating themselves from the rest of the sports world. They really do seem to love their fans, and I'm not saying that. There's plenty of good guys in every sport, but man, MMA guys just really...
I think they remember their roots more because it's such a harder battle. Not that the other ones aren't hard to get to.
No, for sure.
It's definitely hard to get into the NBA. I'm 6'4", and I'm not going to be in the NBA. But, I think... it's more blood, sweat, and tears. More blood, grind. For sure. Yeah. But it's I think that they remember where they came from.
100%.
And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and I don't think they really get as much, limelight as the other... So, all right, so... hopefully this next weekend we'll see UFC Fight Night 171 happen. Supposed to take place in London.
The weird thing. Okay, so they're supposed to be cutting off travel to and from the UK coming up here soon, which getting fighters there and back is going to be rough. That's what we're really worried about is the fact that they might not be able to get there or get back, so they might even not have it there. This whole coronavirus has really taken the sports world by storm. Yeah. And, they even had, on DraftKings, a bet on the Democratic debate. That's where they're stooping down to. We really hope that they can figure out their stuff, and Dana White's not going to want to miss out on money.
No.
So at that point, he's going to do his very best to make sure every fight happens. So.
Well, and the fights need to go on. I really would hate to see fights without fans again. It looks like that's what's going to happen here.
If it has to, though, I'm cool with the fight happening as long as, if they had all fans.
And it's a great business opportunity for the UFC. They're going to get all that airtime. They're going to air them on ESPN, the network. That's what they did with this. Originally only supposed to be on ESPN+. So,
do you think that could change things, too, then? Do you think eventually that they would put more on just ESPN itself?
Personally, no. I think Dana sees this as an opportunity to grow the sport, and then from then on, he's going to see a lot more ESPN Plus subscriptions and pay-per-view buys. But so, likewise, I do think this fight does happen. This card does happen. I don't know if it's going to be in London, what time it's going to be. So we'll see here. Let's do a little bit of a recap.
Woo-hoo! So it should be on the screen right now as we're talking, but. this week, Kale and Twitter put up a big goose egg.
Yeah.
0 for 3. They both put Lee, Maia, and Walker winning that. And, the champ over here.
Yeah,
Even though
I wouldn't say that.
I was behind last week, don't worry. But I'm making my comeback. It's comeback season. I went 1 for 3 because I went with Burns instead of Maia, which, that was a toss-up anyways. I really just kind of...
Ice cold from all of us. We did the Twitter vote, and they all agreed with me once again.
Yeah, but
so
turns
that
out you're not right every time, man.
That brings the running total to 3 for 6 for all three of us.
Yeah.
50%, not very good. We might as well just flip a coin.
Another thing that we did last episode that we're going to continue doing every episode, as long as you guys ask them, we're going to answer your questions. Yeah. We like to just include the fans in everything that we do. So I'm going to do a Twitter question here from our buddy Jordan Alcran. He's a huge UFC fan.
UFC guy.
He loves it, man. So he asked, with the coronavirus scare, will we ever get to see Tony versus Khabib? Listen, man. It would be the 5th time that this fight would be canceled if it doesn't happen. That's not until April, like mid-April.
Yep. And
we can only just pray that it does not get canceled and Dana has got to be like anxiety to the max right now.
And we're really not even close enough to see injuries yet. Because we've seen some late injuries from these two. So
it's just it's really up in the air at this point. I know Dana doesn't want people to think it's up in the air. He wants us to all think it's happening no matter what. He even got kind of pissed off during the press conference when someone asked about it, and he's like, "No, we shouldn't even be talking about this. Like it's going to happen." And that press conference in general was hilarious. Tony Ferguson is the craziest dude I've ever seen he's wearing these like baseball looking gloves and he's got a baseball. They're like, "Hey, what's the importance of the baseball?" He's like, "In case they run, I'm a hitman." I'm like, you are
only Tony Ferguson for sure. But the good thing is Dana White is a guy that he will do everything he can to make fights happen. He does not want to lose money. He wants to keep his fans entertained. If anyone can get it done, it's Dana.
And it's definitely a cursed fight, right? Like everyone...
Gosh, you know what? If this gets canceled from the coronavirus, or if one of them gets injured again, I don't want to see this fight ever.
Or imagine one of them gets the coronavirus. Now that's a curse.
Only these two. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that would be hilarious. Jeez. So the next question we have here is actually from Instagram, from Chris Dahlman, Scott's buddy.
Yeah. Big UFC fan, probably the biggest I know. He is probably the most knowledgeable guy that we know, that like we kind of confide in sometimes on things, especially bets. Yeah,
for sure. So he asked, what's next for Charles Oliveira, the winner of Hooker and Poirier, Conor McGregor, Justin Gaethje? Definitely, in my opinion, not Conor McGregor. Justin Gaethje is intriguing. I think... Personally, Justin Gaethje, he's not really to the Conor McGregor level yet in terms of wins. I think that's a great matchup for Justin. I think that either one of those guys, if Justin beats Charles, that's really a nice win on Justin's record, and obviously for Charles it is. Winner of Hooker and Poirier, you know what, I'm actually going to take the opposite of that. I think for Charles, the loser of Hooker and Poirier would be a really nice option, because I think the winner of Hooker and Poirier really moves into that title conversation, where Charles, I hate to say this, I really don't think he has the name yet to be, in terms of popularity, to fight for the title yet. So I think the loser of Hooker and Poirier is a really nice matchup for Charles. I mean, either one of those guys, Dan Hooker and Dustin Poirier,
I'm a big Hooker guy too. So.
Yeah, that's a great fight. So Conor McGregor, definitely no. Conor ain't taking that fight.
No,
there's absolutely
it's not worth his time.
Absolutely. I mean, it doesn't sell enough.
No.
There's absolutely no way. But, in the future, Charles Oliveira has definitely set himself up for title conversation. This is possibly the most crowded division in the UFC, though. So, and it's very top-heavy, too. So, I don't see Charles getting a title here real soon. But... Chris brings up a nice question here. Hooker and Poirier, I think either one of those guys is a great fight. So.
Yeah. And we also finished up our bracket for our GOAT, pound for pound GOAT. GSP ended up taking it.
GSP dominated John Jones in the final vote.
Kind of like a landslide, wasn't it?
Yeah, we had the number 1 seed John Jones up against the 2 seed GSP.
In our opinion.
In our opinion.
The
and
rankings.
GSP absolutely dominated the final vote, which, there's a lot of people who don't like John Jones.
I'm not a fan at all, and I think everyone in the UFC just rides him like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I'm cool with the GSP taking that.
Yeah, GSP dominated that, and well-deserved. GSP is obviously one of the GOATs, for sure. This is probably one of the only brackets you got to look at with the whole coronavirus shutting down the NCAA tournaments.
So you're welcome.
Yeah.
We were actually, this was before the coronavirus was
we started this before
so,
that.
I mean, we pretty much are your hub for brackets these days.
And, joking aside, we really will do some more of these. This one was the men's pound for pound UFC GOAT. We'll do many variations, so hope you guys liked it, and the reception was very positive, so thank you guys for that.
Yeah, with that being said, that's everything for episode 2. That was a pretty crazy fight that we got to cover. No matter what just does happen coming up, we're going to be releasing content no matter what. We're going to be, whether it's stuff from back in the day or just news in general, we're going to be bringing you guys content. We're not going anywhere. Yeah,
if in the rare case there is a hiatus with the UFC, we will do some sort of coverage. We'll make sure to bring new episodes every single week, so...
Every Tuesday is like when we're trying to release.
Yeah, we're filming. This is currently Sunday, the day after every fight. We'll film, edit Monday, release Tuesday. So expect episodes every Tuesday.
Well, anyways, thanks, guys. Peace out.
See you next week.